We see when someone says, "What's that?" and we're like, "That's an avocado," and you see their face of like, "Oh, that's an avocado." I mean, that's the level of education that is here. It's not the majority, but it's here. I mean, and Microsoft coming in, everybody's kind of panicked about Microsoft. I'm already on top of it. Everybody has these great intentions. Let's do this. Let's open up another grocery store, right? That's a great intention, but why not focus on what the big picture is of what Microsoft is doing, right? Why not teach the neighborhood to code? Because it's not even a technical degree. Give them the certificate to code instead of hiring janitors and parking lot attendants. And then you gentrify them out by bringing in this new grocery store that you're helping them with, but you've pushed them out. So now they have to take MARTA anyways, if they can afford it.
You're saying, why not invest in what's already here? There's people here, there's this grocery here.
Yeah, so put equity back into the community. Don't put another business up. And if you are going to put a business up, make it equity for the community. That's what it needs to be. We need more resources. We don't need to duplicate things. So we're starting with food. But I mean, anybody who's a superpower like that wants to come in and say, oh, it's a food desert, so let's put up food. No, that your great intention is a facade for what's really going to happen with the gentrification.
And I would add to that, Matthew. You want to think global, act local. Okay, so if you try to act global on the front end, you're going to fail.
Yeah, there's always a result and an impact from whether your intention was good or not.
Yeah.
And that could be worse than what your intention was.
Yeah, I think oftentimes those unintended consequences are the things that people don't foresee, or they don't slow down enough at the beginning and really take the time to understand.
Exactly.
Well, because we put a label on it to simplify it, right? So you don't need to break into it because, it's gentrification. Somebody's going to deal with that. There's an anti-gentrification group in the neighborhood. We got it. No, it's really deep. You've just put a small label on the really big picture.
So let me ask you this question, because so often what people want to say is that folks in communities that don't have access to fresh food, when you give them that access, they don't know how to cook with those products. So just dissuade us of thinking of it that way.
I don't think that's true at all, because again, these are families who have been here for their entire lives, of generations of great cooking. The gentrification started in the 50s. That they didn't stop cooking. There was no food. People were growing food in their backyards and feeding themselves. People survive here. People know how to cook. It's just there's no resource. Now, an avocado or something, that's more exotic for sure. But the essentials, this neighborhood knows how to cook the essentials.
When I walked in, I saw all fresh vegetables. I saw spinach, I saw collard greens, I saw turnip greens.
I mean, if you were going to start a garden, it's everything you would think of at your home garden.
So how did you create and develop relationships with the local farmers that you source from? Or have they come to you? Did they hear about you and are they coming to you?
Now it's kind of 50-50. Before it was me just going, but people don't want to sit outside and sell their produce for 6 hours under a small tent in the back of their truck. They want brick and mortar. There's just not a resource, or there's a tacked on fee that's huge, and so it doesn't make sense. So when you set it up like this, whatever goes, and whatever doesn't, we feed the rest of the people.
Okay, Rashid, what's the smallest farm that you've started?
The smallest was probably number one farm we had down in Riverdale, which was in the backyard. We got out of there pretty quick because we knew we had to expand. And some spaces work, some don't. We had one space that was underneath the power lines, and that doesn't work. Don't live there, don't grow food there because they'll kill you. We had, one of the smaller places that we had, we started off, it may have been a half an acre, if that. But it was the richest land, literally. It's no exaggeration. We would put a spade in the ground, turn that dirt over, and you'd have an earthworm jump up 3 or 4 feet in the air.
Wow.
That ground was rich. So we're able to produce a lot out of that. Let me project where you're going with it. How much land do you need to grow food? Oh, man, just whatever's available. Mm-hmm. And I tell people, whatever land you have, always put in some fruit trees. That's where you should start, and don't try to plant it all, because if you do, you'll get frustrated and literally just take a corner, perfect that, get that down, then you can add some more and you grow from there.
So in my backyard, we have a fig tree, which does not produce, which I should do something about. But it reminds me of my grandmother, because my grandmother had a fig tree in the front of her yard, and she used to always can the figs and make fig preserves and stuff. So I love the fact that I have a fig tree. It'd be better if it were producing. But last year, during the early part of the pandemic, we decided to do a little bit of planting. So we did plant blackberries, bush and blueberry. It's nice to play in the ground, right?
Oh, it's called being Grounded.
Yes.
That's where that language comes from. You know, if you see somebody that's kind of flighty, you know, say they're not well grounded, put your hands and feet in the soil, and you'll become grounded. And you can put nets over those trees to keep the birds out. But the other side is look at it, it's abundance. You're sharing, okay? Because they'll take those seeds and go plant them someplace else, and it's going to continue to expand. As far as your fig tree is, you may need to feed it.
Yeah, I'm sure we do. We just look at it and I think, oh, my grandmother. Tell me more about your farms, because I think that that they've been very community based. So this is bringing people in to the community to all work together in growing. So how do you attract more and more people to come and work with you?
Well, my attitude is always, you build it, they'll come. Okay. I used to, when I was younger, I would be out in the street corner protesting what I want to see people stop doing. And I got to a point where I said, wow, rather than protesting what I don't like, let me just build what I do like. Let me build the world and create the world that I want to live in and want to see my children and I got grandchildren I want to live in. So a lot of people begin, and it's quite appropriate, depending upon what the circumstances, that you go out and organize the people first. If you're going to build a community garden in your neighborhood, I tell you the first thing you need to do, well, the pioneers in this say, go have monthly dinners with the people in the community. Talk about it, set up your organization, and then you create an institution, you build it. Me, because of the kind of life that I have built, I just go do the work and people have come. And with the attitude of excellence in what we're doing, people have gathered. So we started training folks, having classes, offering classes. People will come, take the class, and more than anything, they would see us out there doing the work. I can remember too many occasions, raining, so let's go home. So what are you talking about? Somebody may come around that corner.
And if they see us here, they may join us.
And we have some food for them, okay? We have to be reliable, dependent,
yes,
dependable, and I think consistent. That's the most important thing. People have often asked, what is the secret of your success? Well, soon when I've been successful, the secret is I show up every day.
Every day.
Hot, cold, wet, dry, I show up. And there's too many of us, particularly these young people, that come in and looking at their watches. My work is what I do. That's my life. Yeah.
So do you find, Matthew, if you build it, they will come? Are you finding that to be your truth too?
And I've been told that by a lot of the people I look up to, and that's kind of what I'm going with, and it's working, it's growing. Naturally, every day I'm getting more and more phone calls about it, so it's definitely growing. I was very frustrated I had to sit on this place for 6 months, but then I spent that 6 months with the community and building my presence here and letting everyone know what my intention was, and then I opened. And I think that we formed a relationship that now is going to be hard to counter with anyone else trying to come in and just take advantage.
Build that trust, and that is, it's being there, it's showing that you're here to do the right thing, and opening. So tell us, when are you open?
So I'm open 7 days a week, 9 a.m. to 9 p.m.
Wow.
Yeah. And so it's funny he says it now because I needed to hear it. I was tired. I keep thinking about changing my hours.
I think you just got reinforcement.
Yeah, I know. And I was like, man, I could really just slow down a little bit, but there's no point. We're just going.
No time, no place for slowing down. Not now. How old are you?
32.
Yeah, you're just a baby. You got rest.
Yeah.
So, in kind of closing, can you share with me what has been one of your favorite interactions that you've had with the community?
I think for me, we tell the story to all the people who want to invest, and we make it really clear to bring back the home goal for all this is we had a lady come in and it took her she lives in the assisted living home over here, and it took her about 45 minutes to walk down here, and it's only a 2-minute drive, but it's a lot of street crossing, and she came in and she purchased something. We didn't have a lot of change, and I'm still real new at refilling the drawer. And so we were a nickel over and gave her an extra nickel. And then she came back 2.5 hours later and gave the nickel back. And so the point is like everybody's like, this community is it's dangerous. They're scared of it. It's a food desert. We pay a higher tax than you pay downtown. I mean, it's crazy. But if you really break down and look at it, it's just people who are surviving, and it's people who care about a community surviving, and they care that the store is going to make it, even if it's 5 cents. So I mean, I let every person who wants to get involved in something like that. I want to tell Microsoft that. I mean, that's what you're working with. It's people whose lives are invested into this area.
Yes, and who understand that they are part of the community. Oftentimes we forget that we're talking about people when we're talking about areas, and we'll throw out these terms like we've been talking about, but we forget at the heart and the root of all that are actual people who are living in these neighborhoods and who understand that they are part of community. And what about you? What's one of your favorite interactions?
You know, with the interaction that has brought me the most satisfaction over the years. First of all, I've already said that, you know, my life is one of service. That's what I've tried to do. So when I have someone come to me and say, Rashid, I want to thank you for doing ABC, and I have no recollection whatsoever of who they are or what I could have possibly done. And why that becomes satisfying and gratifying is because whatever I did wasn't about me. It was about them. And they're going to come back and tell me, thank you for it. And I admit, that feels good.
That is great. Well, gentlemen, I appreciate your time this afternoon. Thank you so much for talking to me. You have definitely made me think about some things differently. And so food deserts is language that I will strike from my vocabulary. And I want you guys to know, too, that in the Senate, there is a study committee that is happening right now, and it is a study committee around food deserts, around food, and figuring out, because we've got, not just in Atlanta, so many places that don't have access to fresh food within a close enough, radius, but around the state. And so there is an effort to see what we might be able to do and see what's needed to change some of that. But I think that the danger, and you warned of this, is to think that having something coming in from outside is going to be the salve and be the solution.
And even in your committee work, the USDA has created that definition. Many of the young people use the term apartheid to better describe that. But that puts you in a position to help change that language, because words make minds. So as long as folks are thinking of it as a desert and isolated with all them poor colored folks over there, no, it ain't going to work. We got to look at abundance. How are we going to create neighborhoods that are healthy and that are equity is there and inclusive? And that's for young people like you who can do that work.
Well, thank you again. I appreciate you both and appreciate all that you do for your communities and the work that you've done to really change the way we think about food and our relationship with food.
Amen.
Thank you.
Thank you.